but further down the list, there's 4 for murder. There's 4 for rape. There's 3 for robbery. So even though at the top there's a waiting trial portion, there is officers that have been found guilty already. One of our officers was found guilty of murder. He was never sentenced. I don't understand as a policeman how that happened, if you can be found guilty of murder and then not sentenced. And Ekurhuleni reinstated him.
So effectively, these are members in the system who are awaiting trial or convicted for these crimes.
With the exception of fraud, Ms.
Except for the exception of fraud.
Yes.
The murder, there is already a little bit lower down, there is 4 officers that's been found guilty for murder as well. So there is 15 awaiting trial, meaning they haven't been found guilty yet. Their trial is still ongoing. But further down the list, there's 4 for murder. There's 4 for rape. There's 3 for robbery. So even though at the top there's a waiting trial portion, there is officers that have been found guilty already that is in the service with criminal records, very serious criminal records.
And you say those convictions are in respect of murder, rape, and fraud, did you say? The convictions. If
I categorize from what I consider as serious crime for police officers, there's like negligent loss of firearm is 6, but if we go to things like extortion is 5, housebreaking is 5, kidnapping is 5, murder is 4, rape is 4, robbery is 3, pointing of firearm, defeating, gathering act. So from the highest list, which is more related to the Schedule 1 type of offences, the murder, the rapes, and that there is, and then there's at the top the awaiting trial portions that is still not concluded.
Just to make sure we read it correctly, in some instances, taking for instance an example, fraud. You have fraud awaiting trial, then you have fraud. You see that at the top.
Correct.
Where you have not indicated awaiting trial, does that mean the figures you give are in respect of convictions?
Correct, Commissioners.
So anything here that is not highlighted as awaiting trial, these are all members have these convictions, including rape, murder.
Correct, Commissioners.
And they're in the system.
Correct.
And robbery.
Yes, Chair. Okay.
Commissioner, because you said earlier that when you join the service, you get vetted, can we conclude from this document that these offences were committed after the members entered the service? Because I'm assuming if they were committed before, you would not have become a member of EMPD because you would have failed the vetting.
No, Commissioner. That is unfortunately an assumption on your side.
Yeah.
Some of these cases stem back from the late 80s, 90s, and how the officers passed the initial recruitment process is also unknown to me then, because their fingerprints were taken, but how they get forced into the system, I don't know. But these records obviously relate to everything the South African Police Service have as a criminal record based on the fingerprints. And some of the cases, if you look at the convictions, the conviction dates were long ago as well, prior to their actual appointment date. There's one which is a very strange matter. It has been reported to us as well. There was an officer, he's out of the service now because he got caught again and then he was sentenced to imprisonment and he sits in prison. The officer was found guilty of murder. He was never sentenced. And this is a very old case, which I don't understand as a policeman how that happened, if you can be found guilty of murder and then not sentenced. But it's an old case. It's things that we picked up.
What is the policy? What is the EMPD policy regarding the employment of people who have previous convictions?
It's legislation that prescribes it. It's in terms of Regulation 11 of the Municipal Police Services, one of the requirements of the minimum requirements to be appointed as a member is that you may not have a previous criminal record, except if it's politically motivated or there's a specific wording related to that. But you may not have a criminal record upon appointment. It's one of the challenging factors we have, specifically of interpretation in Ekurhuleni, not in the rest of the country, but in Ekurhuleni they interpret the words, because the sub-regulation starts with the exact words, upon appointment, you may not have a criminal record. They take it as upon appointment, not your career. So it's as if they, as HR, think, well, you can be appointed and thereafter you can build a career of criminals. And that is maybe something that needs to be changed, that it makes the word less interpretation available for people to say, but you may never have a criminal, in my mind, you may never have a criminal record as a policeman. There could be, and this is something that I say with respect, there could be matters that is happening in your career, which could be waived, or there could be a process of expungement that happened. As an example, you could be involved in an incident where there's, let's say, serious robbery or a cash in transit, and there's a shooting incident, and you shoot a robber, but you also shoot an innocent citizen, and you get found guilty for culpable homicide maybe in that matter. In the execution of your duties, and you won't really have intent or anything like that, there could be an expungement process if the law allows it. But at the moment, the law states, upon appointment, you shall not have a criminal record. And this is interpreted by Ekurhuleni HR to mean that that day when I was appointed, 1 April 1991, I didn't have a record then. Or when we established as the Metro Police, 16 February 2002, I didn't have a criminal record at that day. But thereafter, it is an open field according to them. There is no policy as well, and that is problematic. There's no policy what happens if an officer do get a criminal record during his service. There should be an incapacity process where you are not fit to be a policeman anymore, and you should be worked out of the system. One of the things that is absolutely critical, but this is my own opinion, there's a few others that have the same opinion, is that in terms of the singularity of what the Constitution, singularity of policing in the country, where all policing service must be the same manner, is that we can have different payrolls, meaning that local government, you're employed by local government or you're employed by national police. But at the bottom end, the standards of a disciplinary agreement, the way that you are being dealt with as a policeman should be the same. We have, for instance, a large challenge because my officers are locally bound. Ekurhuleni officer is employed in Ekurhuleni. The Ekurhuleni HR systems, computer systems, for instance, doesn't have access to Home Affairs, Harness, or the African Police. There's no interface between these systems. So my officer can physically go to Durban on holiday, and he can commit a rape, he can commit a robbery, he can commit anything wrong there. We will never know it happened. The officer can come back, and every time he has to appear in court, he takes a day's leave and he fly out, and we will only discover it if he doesn't pitch for work one day because he sits in prison. And we have there's even a strange anomaly that happened now. One of our officers was found guilty of murder. He actually, at Vosloorus police station, he shot and killed his wife, who was a captain in the police. He shot and killed her in the charge office of the police station. Our police station and their police station is very close to one another. They're separated by like a parking space between us. And he shot and killed his wife. He came out of the police station, and then obviously everyone, it's blue on blue, police and Metro Police, all rush out because of the shot. And then he tried to commit suicide, and he shot himself in the head. He was paramedics on scene, rescued. He actually looks like he sustained no damage, and he was released from hospital. He was eventually found guilty, and he was incarcerated, and I believe it was like a period of 15 years. He came out on parole now in this year, and he lodged an unfair dismissal case because he wasn't processed in the correct manner. And Ekurhuleni reinstated him. So the systems doesn't speak to one another, and that is something that if we, for instance, want to take, if I want to check if my officer have a criminal record, I don't have any access to it at all. I cannot see it. The only manner I can do it is I take his fingerprints manually, I submit it to South African Police Service. I, as municipal police, must pay the South African Police Service either 85 or 180 rand as a government entity to South African Police Service to say, please check this fingerprints for me. They will take weeks and months to do it and then come back with a result to me. So I, as a municipal police, don't have access to criminal records of my officers. My officer could be in domestic violence incidents be involved at home against his spouse or wife, and the police could hold an inquiry about his fitness to possess a firearm in terms of the Firearms Control Act. Or there could be a domestic violence protection order against the officer, and where the court makes a ruling that he is unfit to possess a firearm. That is captured into SAP systems and court systems. I don't have access to that. What we have in the meantime arranged between us and the South African Police Service is that we provide them with a list of our officers' names, and then at the end of every month the South African Police Service draw an extract of their firearm unfit list to us to say the following officers have been captured in their system as unfit to possess a firearm. But that is one of the critical things that is a problem, is that we have even approached SALGA, which is the government, the South African Local Government Association, which is the employer actually, to state to them, can we please, and we already had workshops around this, can we have a separate set of conditions of service for municipal police officers than the rest of council, which is aligned to this, to be similar to, it's not the same because it's two different organizations, but that we have systems and disciplinary agreements that a policeman must not only act in the same manner towards every citizen, but he must also be treated in the same manner at the back end. And that unfortunately doesn't exist.
Thank you, Commissioner.